was gonna open with a joke about, like, pretending that I set up a Patreon, and then, like, if anyone sends me, like, 50,000 yen, I'll do, like, a bonus episode that's just, like, me drawing lewd pictures of Ranma. But then I realized that doesn't sound fake enough. Like, that's something I could just actually do. I don't know. So I guess instead I'm just gonna be like, hey, there's a Ko-fi link there if you want. 50,000 yen is not a life-changing amount of money, but like I wouldn't scoff at it. I would draw Ranma if I was paid for it. There's worse things to do, right? So if anyone wants to do that, we do have the link, Ko-fi.com/Elena Bunbun. That is, of course, me, your host, for this show. Don't know what to do. A Ranma One Half podcast. The only podcast where you can listen to me force other people to hear me talk about Ranma. People such as our guest today. Hey!
Hello, I am a guest. I am here willingly.
It's symbolic.
I am Symbolicgodzilla. Play this music drop. The drop's it's not working. I thought I had a cool intro theme song.
It's played at the start of the episode.
No, not your sound drop. My theme song. I had to have a theme song. I had it produced.
Oh, right, that, yeah. Oh, the button's not working.
I hired Pitbull. It was good. Oh well. Anyway, hi.
Hey! Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just thinking about money.
Oh.
But that might be related to today's subject matter.
Hinato, because she fights. We're going to talk about Miss Hinato, who fights with a coin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
Really? Oh, I didn't think you had a whole episode for her.
Not a lot there. Yeah. Again, I could make a joke, but it just sounds too real. But it is. So we're here to kind of talk about Nabiki, and I say kind of because we kind of already did.
Yeah, I thought. Is this Groundhog Day? Is Nabiki my Andy McDowell? Is that what's happening here?
Honestly, looking at the schedule, we might be approaching like a year since that episode went up.
It is not. Groundhog Day was recently, and something happened, and I didn't check the news because I don't believe groundhogs can predict the weather. Bold stance.
Nah. Anyways, it's true. We briefly covered her. Well, maybe not briefly, but we half covered her, as fitting for the show, alongside Kasumi. They sort of shared an episode together. And I'm gonna be honest, there's maybe not a lot of Nabiki content worth making an entire second episode about, but it's not like there's nothing. So, who knows? I might have potentially done this in a more efficient manner. Maybe if I just had one full episode about just Nabiki instead of splitting it up with Kasumi, I could have fit everything into one thing. But I don't regret doing things the way I did, because the reason I did the two sisters together is because, as I said at the time, like, I don't want to start with, like, let's start talking about Moose.
Who?
I want to pick at least someone that felt like a main character.
Who is Moose? Is like the Rocky and Bullwinkle guy?
Maybe. I think I saw his name somewhere.
Okay, cool.
But anyway, the other reason I did those two, because that was the first, like, character breakdown we did for this show.
Yeah.
I mainly used Nabiki and Kasumi as, like, a jumping off point for a larger discussion about, like, how fans treat a character, and also, like, the concept of, like, the different roles. Like, I established the whole, like, rival and family roles that characters can meet, and how some characters can sometimes go back and forth, etc. And that proved to be very relevant over the next couple of episodes as we discussed other characters.
Makes sense.
So I'm thinking, if there's too much for one Nabiki episode, but not enough for two, maybe I could just do that again and use Nabiki as a jumping off point for a larger discussion. Because, I don't know, she is one of my favorite characters, and as discussed previously, by virtue of being a family character, aka the Greek chorus, she's just always present even if, like, there aren't a lot of stories about her, there's a lot of stories where she will show up for a joke or just for a scene. She's just there. There's a lot to, like, look at and be like, yep, that's Nabiki. I know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not a bad jumping off point for looking at the series as a whole.
Speaking of jumping off points, she also does jump out of a plane at one point.
Yeah, she does.
That's important.
Pretty good at it.
Yeah. People underestimate her abilities a lot.
Nabiki is a fit person. Like, she's not a martial artist, but, like, she does take care of herself. They're like, anytime she's in Akani's room, she's just doing the little, like, calisthenics or something. She always wakes up early. Like, she keeps her body healthy. It's never directly stated, but I've always been under the assumption that, like, if Nabiki wanted to practice martial arts, she could.
Do you think she has a fighting spirit, like how Genma does?
It's hard. I don't think she has a weak spirit. I feel like she just doesn't have the motivation, but if she really wanted to, like, I think the concept of a spirit involves, like, having a strong understanding of who you are and just what makes you tick. Genma, for all his faults, knows who he is. He knows his role in the world. He is at peace with who he is. Where someone like, say, Ryoga is constantly at odds with himself. He's constantly beating himself up. He's constantly in denial about things. He's constantly blaming other people for his problems. He doesn't have a strong understanding of himself.
When I'm talking about fighting spirit, I'm talking about the thing that allows Genma to use chopsticks in panda form, which we previously talked about was based around you could transcend your form with enough martial spirit. And I'm wondering, do you think Nabiki has that? Like, if she turned into a panda, would she need to train before she could use chopsticks? Or do you think she could use chopsticks right off the bat?
Yeah, I feel like, I think that is a good litmus test of, like, just imagine if they fell into a spring,
Mm-hmm.
would they be able to do stuff? I feel like Nabiki is kind of in the middle of these two extremes. I don't think she would be a Genma, but, like, she definitely wouldn't be helpless.
She'd probably be, I mean, at the bottom I put Shampoo, who is just a cat. In the middle I put Ryoga.
Shampoo can lift up a little water basin
Okay.
in the bath while in cat form. I think Ryoga's at the bottom.
Well, Ryoga can carry his backpack in pig form.
Yeah, I suppose there aren't a lot of characters that I think would be completely useless in pig form.
Maybe she's more of a, I can't remember his name. He's that guy with glasses that has all the hidden weapons and turns into a duck.
That guy, I'm drawing a blank, sorry.
Anyway, you know how he's not super effective, but he can still use his hidden weapons in duck form, and he can wear his glasses. Maybe Nabiki's on his level, and if she trained, she could become a Genma.
Yeah, I could picture, like, Panda Nabiki being able to manipulate money, just counting bills,
Oh my god.
doing stuff like that. Again,
Hold up.
I don't think...
Say that again. Panda Nabiki.
Panda Nabiki.
Oh my god. Wow. Just
open your mind.
what am I even doing on dating apps, honestly? I'm never going to find Panda Nabiki on the dating apps. Anyway, continue.
That's true, I don't think you'll find that.
No.
But yeah, similar to how, like, I don't think she would ever be motivated to train in martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she would be very motivated to train how to use an animal form more than she can, but I think she would have enough capabilities to just get by. Like, Nabiki tends to be the type of character who, like, as long as she gets what she needs, she is satisfied.
I feel like if Nabiki was turned into a cat Shampoo style, she would show up as an adult. She shows up to work in her business suit as a cat, in a little, like, cat business suit. She can do, like, most of her work, but she's too small for the computer, so she's got to, like, stack boxes, you know? Maybe she can lead a presentation, but she also can't make herself understood very well when giving the presentation.
Yeah. Again, kind of in the middle of these two extremes. Definitely some capabilities there, but not like a full-on, like, proper spiritual warrior like Genma.
speaking of Genma, would we call Panda Nabiki Panbiki? Pabiki? Napanda?
Most characters don't give themselves different names when in different forms.
I'm just thinking of like in the fandom at least, people call, a lot of, at least when I was, a teenager in the 90s, we called Ranma. Ron-chan made it clear you were talking about girl Ranma. If you were like posting on
Which
forums.
is interesting because that's what Ukyo
I know.
called boy Ranma.
It's a weird, they use Ranma-chan and Ranma-kun because they thought that made sense at the time.
It makes sense.
I guess, but like there's tons of girls you can call Kun,
Yeah. Nabiki definitely seems like, I think she would turn into a red panda. She doesn't seem like a big animal type of person.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Red pandas are kind of fox-like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Here is the first of my many asides. We'll see if this will actually fit in somehow. I recently bought... do you know who Chris McDowell is?
Yes.
The TTRPG guy?
Yeah, I've heard the name.
He designed Into the Odd and Electric Bastion Land and Mythic Bastion Land. So I recently got Mythic Bastion Land, and it's a whole bunch of knights. There's a fox knight, and it actually makes me think of Nabiki.
Also, I think Nabiki as a fox would also just a fox with the just imagining like a traditional like fox spirit at a shrine with the little collection box.
Yeah. No, I see ya. The thing is in this, every player character is a different knight. Like you're the Rune Knight, the Gallows Knight, the Tome Knight, the Meteor Knight, the Mule. Everyone. So like the Fox Knight, for example, has an ability once per day. Oh, here it is. Once per day, declare your current self to be an illusion, disappear in smoke. The real you is watching from a safe place nearby. Come on, that sounds right?
Yeah, that is a fox.
Well, I think that's a Nabiki move. The Fox Knight, aka Nabiki, a whimsied whirl, a crafty guise, the truth revealed as a sour surprise.
I could see it.
Restore spirit when you avoid being tricked or outwitted. Also, they have a hidden blade that does bonus damage to someone who trusts you. So, she uses that on Ranma all the time.
That would depend on the continuity, but yeah.
Oh, she does. She backstabs Ranma, so Anyway, I don't know how that's going to come back in later. I'm assuming that's going to end up cut, but you never know.
No, I think I can work with some of that. Honestly, even if she's not like a martial arts character, I do definitely feel like she's one of the more capable of the like family characters.
Well, she's the one who can survive adulthood the best, I think.
Yeah, like if Ranma was in a fight and the only ally he had was like Kasumi or Son, he may as well just not have someone to help. That's just an extra hostage he has to take care of. But if Nabiki were there...
Nabiki is like one of those characters...
Nabiki could at least contribute
in
some way.
Suikoden, for example, you get your 6 main characters, and then you have your 2 support characters who don't have, like, hit points, but they contribute to the fight somehow. That's Nabiki, and she's a great one, She, you earn bonus money from every fight, and so you definitely want Nabiki in your support party.
Honestly, I feel just that is one of the problems with Ranma, is characters aren't allowed to be supporting characters enough. It's especially towards the latter half of the series, a lot of the stories just become Ranma and sometimes Akane and whichever main rival character is part of this story, and we get less and less people just being in the periphery around them, unless they show up for like 2 panels as a joke.
And see, I think that's why for me, I always liked... Even when I skipped forward in Ranma, I still preferred the early chapters, just because you have more play between the characters. I think that's fun.
Yeah, Nabiki is maybe the biggest example of like the perspective, like the camera leaving Ranma and Akane to focus on something else. Because in the early stories, we would occasionally cut to her and Tatsuaki Kuno in their classroom.
She has, if I remember correctly, 2 friends. 2 friends. That's a lot of friends for someone who isn't Ranma. And they don't show up very much, but they are in a chapter.
Yeah, we see that she does socialize with her classmates. She does have a social life. We just never really get to see it beyond, like, those early interactions between her and Kuno, which very quickly stop once we stop doing this whole thing where we can see what other characters are like. And it's a shame, because she, like, Nabiki is a strong character. She can do a lot. She doesn't need to just be there to make a punchline observation about what's happening to Ranma. Honestly, I think one of the most interesting things about Nabiki is that, like, some of her most defining traits aren't even established until, like, 1 or 2 arcs in.
She's very normal girl at first. It takes a little while for her to become the Nabiki we know.
Yeah, honestly, do you remember, like, how she's introduced in the first chapter?
I think she says, "I hope he's cute," or something like that.
No, that's after, because the chapters, like, it starts with Son receiving the postcard from Genma, and then he calls the girls to have a meeting, and then while talking about this arranged marriage thing, then she eventually says that, but before that, we're introduced to the girls one by one. In order, we start with like Kasumi making dinner or lunch, whatever time of day it is, and we immediately see she's got the apron, she's preparing food. Just one panel, and you instantly know what this character is. She is the housewife of the family. Second panel, we see Nabiki wearing hip, modern clothes like a teenager would. She's just walking around casually, and then she enters the dojo to meet the youngest daughter who's in the training gi, and we establish that and the difference between those two. And then we get a very odd moment in hindsight where Nabiki tells Akane, like, no boys are gonna like you if all you do is train. And this is just an excuse to establish Akane's trait of, I don't care about boys. Boys are icky, ill. And Akane has, like, a line where she's like, all you care about is boys, Nabiki. Who cares about that? And that's weird, because after that first scene, nothing ever implies that Nabiki is boy crazy, ever.
I think to me, the way the vibe I got from her in that early book was just, she's cool and normal, which is weird that she's my favorite. But she's like, you know, she's trendy, she's fashionable, she has friends, she doesn't have a weird freakish need to replace her mom, or a weird freakish need to beat people to a pulp.
She's casual. When she asks, is he rich? It's in the context of, these girls have been told that one of them is going to get engaged. Like, Kasumi's response is to ask how old he is, because that matters to her. And, like, these are... nothing in that implies that Nabiki only cares about money. But that line, in conjunction with her being called boy crazy, like, I think the intention is to present her as maybe somewhat vain. Like, she cares about superficial things and doesn't sweat the details. She's just a teenage girl here to have fun. Is this guy rich? If so, who cares? Is he pretty? Whatever. I don't want to train because boys don't like that. What good is that going to do me? That's the impression you get. And it's not until even, like, the first time we see her, like, manipulating someone for money, it's when she's selling photos to Tatuaki Kuno. And it's like, well, she doesn't seem to like him and she's using him for profit. She's just kind of being a cheeky little stinker. Just messing around with people. Like, she's like taking pictures of Ranma in his sleep. And that also doesn't necessarily imply that she's just obsessed with money. It kind of makes it seem like she's just an agent of chaos, just having fun.
She's sort of she's Columbo without a mystery to solve, if you will. So she's just being a stinker to everybody the way Columbo does if he didn't have a mystery solved. He's just going around borrowing people's pens and annoying them.
Yeah, just, you know, pulling boiled eggs out of your pocket and then littering. She's
like a fashionable, aimless Columbo. What am I?
Nab- Panda Nabiki
Oh
solving crimes. There's the fan fiction.
I'm just gonna drop that in the Discord right now. Panda. I'm gonna go enter that in an AI now. Panda Nabiki solving crimes. I'm kidding. Don't use AI, kids. It's killing the planet. But did you see the drawing I did drop from the of like Nabiki in a devil costume with her little puppets, and she's got Marionette Ranma and Marionette Akane? That's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know what chapter that would be for.
I wonder if it'll... I got it off of the wiki, the Always Correct wiki. Let's see if it says. Anyway.
Yeah. This looks like chapter title page art.
It very helpfully says, first of all, this is Nabiki Demon Suit, originally uploaded on Wikipedia or other Wikimedia project. Very helpful.
Okay. But yeah, over time, I suppose you could say that Nabiki was flanderized into being focused on specifically the money. She's not just messing with people for fun, and sometimes that involves money. Now she's messing with people because she wants the money.
You should hit the button for that because you invoked a TV tropes term.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Ding or whatever. I'm actually curious if she's in, because she should be. Okay, I'm going to read the entry on Nabiki from TV Tropes on the Flanderization page. This is also applied to Nabiki's love of money, which propels over time, I'm not saying anything, from a merely opportunistic character to an appallingly two-faced exploiter who is willing to engage in outright stupid behavior for the often dubious possibility of financial benefit. But we did enough with Nabiki's TV Tropes character assassination last time.
Yeah. But that is an interesting thing I also wanted to talk about because Nabiki's pretty simple. And as I said, there's not a lot of content to cover like an entire second podcast episode. So I'm still buying time before we start with that. But like, despite the common understanding, like I like to just look at what is on screen and focus on like what we know for a fact, not like what is being implied or what I think Rumiko Takahashi wants to be the takeaway. But like what we know for certain.
That is the height of Ranma science.
Last time we discussed what I said was my favorite story in all of Ranma, and that's the one where she and Ranma get engaged. And I gave my thoughts on that and how like in that story Nabiki says that she loves Ranma and then immediately says that she didn't actually mean it. She's just messing with him. And I could tell that that's part of the classic Rumiko Takahashi staple of I don't think about that and neither should you. Don't think too hard about it. Don't think too hard about what is happening on screen. When Nabiki says she didn't mean it, she may as well be looking at the camera directly to the audience of don't read into that. And I'm just like, you don't tell me what to do. 'Cause as I explained back then, I'm like, she doesn't have anything to really gain from lying to Ranma about that specifically. Like, I guess she could hypothetically use that to manipulate him in the future, but she doesn't. After that, it's like 2 scenes, and then she just comes clean to Akane about what she's been doing, and that whole plot point gets dropped. It's just kind of there to set up the eventual finale of the arc, which we'll get to in a bit. Not the arc, but like the setting up for the finale thing. That's something I want to cover. But I like to do that of just like, yeah, you're telling me not to think about it, but you already put the idea in my head, and I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to look at what's on screen. And if I'm being honest, despite Nabiki being characterized and understood as this selfish person who only cares about money, she's not actually that greedy.
The reports of her greed are more extreme then people... How does it normally go? The reports of my death are exaggerated or whatever? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Mark Twain bit. Hold on. So we can pretend that we got it right on the first try.
It's almost like she says, the reports of my greed are greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I briefly mentioned it last time, but like, Nabiki usually doesn't ask for large sums of money. She's asking for the equivalent of like $5 to $10 for stuff. And like, we never see her owning anything super expensive. It's not like she splurges or spends the money on expensive things. Like, as far as we can tell of what's in her room and what we know she spends money on, she's just like, the money that she gets from people, that's just her allowance. That's just spending money. She'll get like $15 from Kuno for these photos, and then she'll spend that on like CDs.
Yeah.
She'll just go to McDonald's with her friends. She's, as far as we can tell, she is just doing normal teenage things with the money she receives. The only time she asks for large sums of money, it's as like a joke of her purposely trying to make it clear that she doesn't want to be helpful, or and pretty much exclusively only with Kuno, because he can afford it. Like, there is one arc where he temporarily gets amnesia, and we just get like a joke where she's like, "You don't remember anything? Not even me? I'm in your class." And he's like, "Sorry, I don't remember." She's like, "Not even the 50,000 yen I loaned you?" He's like, "Oh, is that right? Sorry, here you go." And he just gives her the money.
$500. That's pretty big.
Yeah. And like, it's enough that like they do make the joke of like, Nabiki, stop messing with him. Like there is a line being crossed in that moment as far as everyone else is concerned. But most of the time, she's charging like $5 for a photo. She's asking Ranma for like $10. They're not large sums of money. And as far as we can see, she's not really spending this money on anything super expensive. Again, I think she's just going shopping with her friends or buying normal teenage things.
Huh. No, that makes sense. I have discovered something wild about Nabiki. Have you heard of the show Maze Megaburst Space?
No.
Okay. In the show Maze Megaburst Space, we have our protagonist, who is May. By day, she's a girl. At night, she transforms into a horny pervert guy. And there's more. I'm trying to get a picture of this because this is something. It is said Nabiki has a cameo in this show because at one point the guy refuses to come out, so she's stuck in purely girl form. And when we cut to the guy, he's inside of May's mind, hanging out with a bunch of ladies. And here's my best screenshot of that. Now, you might recognize, if you look at this, you see Sailor Moon there in the background. But I have been told that Nabiki is in this image.
That kind of looks like her in the bottom right.
I don't know. Would Nabiki join an interdimensional gender comedy harem piloted by a pervy guy if enough money was involved?
You know, I would say I should revoke your TV tropes privileges for going on this tangent, but this does kind of also segue to a thing I did want to come up.
I did not get this from TV tropes. I got this from the official Ranma 1/2 wiki.
Oh no.
Now, I see a lot more Sailor Moon characters in there and some other characters in there. But that could be Nabiki. I'm not... It's not Nabiki is what I think I will say.
The dreaded trivia section, my ancient nemesis. On the question of what Nabiki would do for money, including joining a space harem of gratuitous cameos, I have a very good question that I don't know if people really think about this. Maybe they have, given who Nabiki often interacts with. If the only thing Nabiki cares about is money, Why does she not actively go out of her way to seduce Kuno?
I think that's a very good point.
That seems like the easiest way for her to make money.
She's obviously got him wrapped around her finger. Like, she knows how to play him perfectly even without that.
And again, when she does, she's charging him like $5 per photo.
Hey.
And granted, he gets a lot of photos, and that adds up over time.
That one story you told me about is $500.
I might have gotten it wrong. It might have been closer to like $50.
Okay, 50,000 yen is, I think, $500. So...
Okay, maybe it was just 5,000.
Anyway, point is, you're not wrong. She could be milking Kuno a lot harder. Hold on. Archive of our own. Nabiki milking Kuno Ranma 1.5. Okay, more turned up than I expected. I'm not going to look into that right now.
In general, she could be doing so much more for money. She's, like I said, I feel like as long as she gets what she wants, she's satisfied. And clearly, if she wanted more money, she could be going out of her way to do way more than what she's doing, but she seems perfectly satisfied earning just enough income to go to McDonald's every once in a while.
She's not a megalomaniac. I would argue she doesn't have the desire. She could never be a billionaire because she wouldn't want to do the exploitation required to get her there. She might be a millionaire. She'd be willing to like rip off some, and she'd be like, yeah, man, give me $10,000. Yay. But she wouldn't, she wouldn't form a system, I think, is her big thing. She wouldn't systematize ripping people off. That's, I think, one of the big differences between her. She's not going to marry for money. She's going to marry. I mean, let's say she wanted to get married, first of all, which is an assumption. We don't see a lot of romantic interest in her from people directly. But, like, she'd marry someone she likes, and if he had money, that would be a plus, as I feel how that would go.
Yeah.
That's my take on her. Sort of like, she was not like, oh, he's a martial artist, that's not so great. But she didn't get turned off in the initial meeting, if I recall, until she saw the girl Ranma form.
Yeah. Because at that time, the assumption is, oh, there was a misunderstanding. This isn't even a boy for us to marry.
Yeah.
So there's no engagement here. And then by the time they find out about the curse, everyone's like, oh, well, he's practically made for Akane. So, like, you know.
And I think, as she gets to know him, you could argue she develops feelings for him or sees how they could be compatible, sees how they could function as a couple. But then she has to suppress that because ultimately she's not going to dick over her sister over some guy. It's the same way she's not going to, like, abuse Kuno's wallet. She will let Kuno buy her lunch, but she's not going to set up a recurring payment from Kuno to her bank account and steal money. It's how far she's willing to go. There's a limit. She's got limits, which is, I think, something the fandom doesn't understand. And that might go back to quote my favorite comedian, Roy Wood Jr., I don't want to talk about misogyny, but let's talk about misogyny.
Yeah, we definitely see that with Akane.
Yeah.
The worst traits are what gets zeroed in on, and any context around those traits gets ignored.
Mm-hmm.
And this leeway that is often awarded to other characters is not offered here. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be about misogyny. I remember when I started uploading those little, like, podcast clips to YouTube, I got a very, like, huge diatribe, like this multi-paragraph essay from someone about how Genma is the worst human being that ever existed. So some people will just focus on a character. It doesn't always have to be because of misogyny, but, there are definitely patterns there for which characters are more likely to earn that ire.
I mean, I'm willing to give... Genma's pretty bad,
Sure. Maybe not, like, unprovoked, I'm going to write an essay in a YouTube comment.
He did throw his son covered in beef into a room full of starving cats.
Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe the person who wrote that essay probably maybe put some of their own life experience, like if I had a bad parental relationship like that, I would be like, oh no.
It's just kind of funny that like that was in the clip where I show the clip of like Genma hugging child Ranma while they're in the snow, keeping his son warm.
Aww.
And he's just smiling, just being a good dad, just to show that like he does care about Ranma despite his flaws. But yeah, this again, we did cover this. The Flanderization, the way people react to a character like Nabiki, but like again, I want to focus on what we know for a fact. I don't want to make assumptions. I want to look at what is there.
All right,
what's there is telling me that clearly Nabiki has larger priorities than just making money. Clearly she has lines that she's not willing to cross. I do find it interesting, like, she will take pictures of, like, naked Ranma in these poses, but when she sells pictures of Akane, it's just pictures of Akane working out or jogging, just normal pictures of Akane. She doesn't manipulate or take advantage of Akane the same way she does Ranma. But, like, if all she wanted was money, there's avenues there she could exploit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't see her, like, putting up cameras in Shampoo's house to sell pictures to Moose. You don't see her crossing lines beyond just what's directly in front of her. And, if Rama's gonna be hanging around just eating food topless and not caring, yeah, she's gonna snap a picture.
She doesn't have a mailing list where you can send away cash money for, like we've seen anime characters.
Put a pin in that.
She does have a mailing list?
Put a pin in that.
She has a mailing list for Ranma pictures? Okay. I was just thinking...
We'll get there.
We've got anime characters who do have, like, I've created this website to sell naked pictures of this popular girl in class. I don't remember if that actually...
If she had access to the internet in 1992, I'm pretty sure she would. Who's to say, but...
All right.
Put a bit of that.
I was trying to cut her slack, but I guess she is a Comey can't communicate character. Yeah, shots fired at Comey can't communicate. Pow, 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 pow. Anyway, carry on. Carry on with what you were saying, please.
Well, that's just the general thought. To me, that is Nabiki. And again, going back to the arc where, like, I don't think Rumiko Takahashi intended to secretly imply that Nabiki maybe has a crush on Ranma. That's just my half-joking headcanon, because I just think it's funny when we get arcs like that, when we see Nabiki putting way more effort into getting sexy pictures of Ranma.
Yeah.
When we never see her do that with anyone else. She only wants the Ranma pictures of this style. She wants sexy pictures of Spider-Man. Get me those pictures. and that's my interpretation of maybe why she might be motivated. Mainly because I feel like the alternative is to assume that she just doesn't like Ranma and therefore doesn't care about violating his boundaries or using him the way she wouldn't for her sisters, who she could be manipulating and exploiting, but she doesn't, because she clearly cares about them. And, like, you could also read it that way. Maybe this is all hinting that she dislikes Ranma, and that's why she's okay with doing this stuff to him, and she only does it to him. In which case, that would also imply that she has no ill feelings towards any other character, and just Ranma. I don't really care for that, and I can't find any other explanation for why she only singles out Ranma besides those two.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other than because it's just funny, but, like, again, regardless of what Rumiko Takahashi intended, regardless of her, again, practically having Nabiki look at the camera and say, I'm just messing, I'm just having funs, I don't care about that. I'm still looking at screen and being like, yeah, but she doesn't do this with anyone else. It's just Ranma.
No, you're right.
So like, yeah, that's, I guess now we've gotten the core of Nabiki. Again, but with a bit more detail about like who is she as a person beyond just who is she according to the fans, or who is she in her best moments.
Yeah.
More just like, who is she throughout the whole series? When the series isn't focused on her, and she's only going to get like 2 lines in a chapter, who is she in that moment? And a lot of people would interpret her in a very negative manner. She's this manipulative, selfish person who is here to exploit people, and I'm just looking at that and being like, but she's not. She's honestly, she's not really doing anything. She's just chilling.
Yeah, most of the time.
She's just doing her own thing.
She's chilling. Every so often, she gets a burger on Kuno's dime. Otherwise, she's just hanging out.
So, I guess if we're more or less done breaking down just who is Nabiki, then I guess, as I said, we're not even halfway through this episode, I assume. I don't know how long the time step's going to be by the end. But, like, I guess the jumping off point, the other discussion I wanted to use Nabiki to start talking about, and this might seem unrelated, like a weird tangent, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
What makes a Ranma story feel like a Ranma story?
Okay.
Last time when we discussed Ukyo, I did bring up that one example of a filler episode that's like, this is just fan fiction. And you more or less agreed with me on that take, right? Like you understood why I called it that.
All right. There's a lot of reasons that episode is not what I would describe as a Ranma episode, a Ranma style episode. One of the episodes that I kind of think is a very good example of a Ranma episode is the Nabiki storyline, where she is her love interest / opponent, the one big Nabiki fight where they're going on the date.
Yeah, the money battle.
Yeah. And where, it starts off, there's an intrusion into their daily life of some kind. Something happens. Okay. It's usually something wacky. It can be seemingly innocuous. It can be gigantic, like the house exploding. I mean, the house wouldn't explode, but it can be like, oh no, the prince has kidnapped all of the girls. Or it can be something very minor, like, oh no, I'm out of money. Or an argument between Ranma and Akane, and Ranma gets kicked out. Something happens to disrupt the norm.
Yes.
And then there's 2 paths that are mostly the same. If it's a big thing, we're high gear, going straight to the wackiness as fast as possible. And it is as wacky as it can be. I can't think of too many like this off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they exist. Where it's like, something really weird and dumb happens, and it gets very intense very fast. And it stays there the whole time.
Yeah, those tend to be one-offs, like a single chapter.
Yeah. The one that I'm thinking of is maybe the demon one, the possession one.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know, that one still kind of starts slow. So the slow one is like, okay, there is this constant escalation where like, okay, now it's figure skating. Oh, okay, they're very good figure skating. Oh, okay. Wow, now it's martial arts figure skating. Oh, okay. Now Akane is going to die because of the figure skating whirlwind move. Like that escalation is, it doesn't have an upper limit. It keeps going and keeps going until it hits the beat that is the punchline for Takahashi. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's the goal is something really funny. So I'm thinking about like the Yukio storyline when she first is introduced, and it leads up to the fight with the spatula fight. Basically, they're fighting on a hot griddle. It starts off, it's like, okay, it's okay, and then awkward. There's a fight. There's threats. There's violence. It culminates in like this big field day with everyone at school watching, and the ring is is a heated griddle. Because that's how she fights. And that's very cool. And then, well, how are we going to top off that fight? Well, we're going to switch gears and we're going to undercut everything for the finale. Which is, wait, what? You know, we talked about that in the Yukio episode where, like, I think he forgot something important. Like, he didn't know she was a girl. And so, like, it all leads up to something where you can undercut it for a joke and return to normal. Or the fight can be concluded. And one of the key things to that is Ranma himself, because he will not accept a loss. He's Marty McFly who can fight. You know, Marty McFly famously won't back down. If you call him a chicken, he will fight you and he will do stupid things. The difference is Ranma will be like, I will do whatever I can to master this martial art. And if that means I have to dress like a woman and marry him and be his bride for 30 years, I will do it. It's not gay. That's just Ranma trying to win, you know? That's the kid.
Yeah.
And Ranma is built for escalation.
30 years later, it will reveal that, like, his and Ryoga's son was in on it.
Yeah.
And they defeat him.
Yeah. So Ranma as a character is built for escalation. Because he can't de-escalate a situation. Something has to happen to deflate it, or he has to win, or something stupid has to happen. And those are kind of the three basic endings. Now, you can have a heartwarming moment in that. And we get a lot of those in Ranma. Ranma's very good at escalating. Oh no, Akane's gonna die. Oh no, Ranma saves Akane. And then, are we gonna get a touching scene? Or is Ranma gonna say something dumb? Roll the dice. And it's good either way, because you don't know. So the Nabiki story to me is one of the pitch perfect ones of that, because every scene is an escalation, building up to them jumping out of a plane, and the back and forth there. And so I'm going to compare this to, I told you about this before, I wanted to compare this to the idea of wacky stacks from hit TV show Clone High, which I don't, are you familiar with Clone High?
Yes, and this concept, mainly because you ran it by me beforehand, but what is wacky stacks? What's Clone High? I don't know anything, I'm just a kid.
Well, my young friend, let's go watch this show that's totally inappropriate for someone of your young age. It's about a bunch of clone teenagers who are,
Yeah, well, way back in the 1980s, government employees dug up famous guys and ladies, and now those clones are sexy teens now.
Now, I cried at the finale of season 1 of Clone High because it was really sad. Everyone else seems to think it's a comedy, but I think it's a very serious drama also. But anyway, you laugh. I also listen to Richard Cheese music seriously, as opposed to, haha, that's funnily. But there we go. That's me.
That's Clone High, but what's this wacky stacks thing you mentioned?
Now, this is from memory, so I don't remember exactly how to do that. So they're plotting out an episode, they have a basic idea, and someone writes down on a note card, like, an idea for a funny scene, or like a funny joke, a one-liner, you know, like, maybe they might down, Joan of Arc's braces, let her hear what she think is God. And someone writes that down. And then someone else will be like, the braces tell her she hears a car commercial through her braces, because that's the plot, is she's getting radio commercials. And someone else is like, she starts loudly proclaiming, like Joan of Arc from the Middle Ages, going around trying to convince people to save the car. And then like, well, what if that caused conflict between her and things? So you get these ever increasing stacks as people put a joke on top of another joke and they layer it. And whichever stack was highest was like, this is the joke that's got the most potential. Let's put that in the episode. And let's put all of that in, which maybe they should have cut some of those jokes, but also it's the joke that got them the most excited and got them the most thinking, which is a little different from the escalation style of Ranma 1/2. But it's, you know, it's this form of the story. It's whatever thing we can keep the jokes flowing the fastest and the longest with. And, you know, so like, and the reason that your story doesn't work in Ranma 1/2 land, when I say your story, I'm talking about the one with Ukyo looking cute, is the disruption is small. Okay, that's fine. That is not a bad disruption. Ukyo shows up looking girly. Boom. Okay, something has to happen from that. It needs an escalation. And that's where it falls off. Because, for example, Ranma compliments her and Akane gets jealous could be an escalation. Did that happen in that episode? I don't remember.
Not really. The only escalation is just getting more characters to tell us how cute Ukyo is.
Are they funny?
Honestly, not really. Wasn't that funny?
Like, I mean, okay, so if let's say if we even keep that, like, okay, so first it's like, maybe Kuno says it. He's like, oh yeah. And then maybe we could bring back Ghost and Kugi and he's like, does something really creepy, like makes her a special creepy doll of her. And then, like by the end, bring back fan favorite. I can't remember her name, but she's the one who turns into inanimate objects.
Yeah, Tsubasa.
Yeah, Tsubasa. Tsubasa like is like stalking her through the school. By the end of it, like appearing out of lockers, like, you're so adorable. And Ukyo's like, I'm scared. And it's a horror episode. That could be a Ranma story. You know what I mean? That could be good. And then Ukyo acts weak. So Ranma has to save her. So Ranma and Tsubasa have to fight. Okay, cool. All right, we're getting there. Ranma's in the story. And then she's like, ugh, this is too much effort. And then maybe you could have the scene where Ranma says, oh, you're cute at the end.
I'm going to take that wacky stack and I'm going to build a separate stack.
Okay.
What if instead the joke is that she keeps putting herself in increasingly dangerous situations for Ranma to save her, and he just gets more and more frustrated as things escalate. He gets less likely to call her cute because now he's getting annoyed.
Oh, see, that would work. That would work even better. That's if we're doing like 2 chapters or 3 chapters. You know what I'm saying? My version ends in 1 chapter. Your version's like, all right. So he does this. He saves her a couple times, and he's like, what the hell, Ukyo? And the next chapter, like, Ukyo is like being stalked by like killer Tsubasa, who is like scary because we're playing up the horror aspect because that's funny because Tsubasa is funny, and then Ranma is like annoyed and frustrated. He like punches out the locker that Tsubasa is hiding in and is like, Ukyo, stop. And then like again, later it's like, it's been 2 weeks. Why are we still doing this? And then Akane's mad and Sound's mad at Ranma and Genma's mad. Like I'm taking yours and I'm adding more to it. Now Genma's mad. Everyone's mad at Ranma. And Ranma's like, Ukyo, everyone's mad at me because you keep getting stuck in this horror movie.
And if we still want to end on a sweet note, have it so that like at the end, Ukyo's like pretty outfit gets destroyed and she has to cover up in her less flattering uniform. And Ranma could be like, you know what? I like you like this.
That would be good. Thing. Or if we want to go for a little bit of bittersweet, we can be like, Ukyo, this is why you're my best friend. Twist the knife a little in the Ukyo fans.
Yeah.
And then even we can add on top of that, have him be like, Akane's like, you know what? Actually, it was really sweet of you to protect your friend Ukyo. And Ranma can be like, whatever. But then he kind of smiles. And then that's the end. There's so many different ways, but it's not... The thing here is we have this upward escalation before the explosion or the deflation. But it also has to... Until then, you are gradually or quickly... You're stepping on that gas constantly, throwing more stuff out. Even the first story arc is like that. Even though it keeps it, like... All right, well, let's make them be friends. And then, oh no, let's have them let's walk in each other in the bath. And then let's make that bad. Like all of that works. And I think that's not only the Ranma shape, that's something that, and I'm not saying Ranma did it first. Ranma was definitely an early adopter of that specific shape and using it for comedy. I think it was also in Urusei Yatsura, but I think she did it better in Ranma a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then lots of other shows, it's different shows, but lots of shows, I mean, all of the shonen comedies, I feel like kind of on some level are inspired by this shape. Even if it's not, I don't know if it's fair to say Ranma is the biggest comedy historically, but it feels like it from my knowledge. I'm not sure of a comedy that is more influential. There might be some from that era. I'm just not sure of one. I'm not aware of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, this whole Wacky Stacks conversation, this is a much better breakdown of the whole formula than what I had in mind, because it exemplifies one key thing, which is that I feel that a good Ranma story writes itself.
Yeah.
And you brought up Urusei Yatsura, and like, I don't think it's a coincidence that I pretty much never see fan art or anything related to Urusei Yatsura outside of Lum,
Mm-hmm.
the character. It's like, despite the fact that that series is also similar to Ranma in that we have a whole large cast of wacky hijinks characters, almost none of them matter as far as like the fandom is concerned. It's the Lum show.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ranma,
Everyone matters.
the side characters are well defined enough that you can just sort of take a concept, you can wacky stacks it. You could take a thing and just put characters in, and it writes itself. This is how these characters would behave in this manner, and how they would escalate things in this manner.
No, I'm gonna say she reuses character archetypes. Like, you've got the rich swordsman guy in Lum, in Urusei Yatsura,
Yeah.
but Kuno is easier to write for. He's a little simpler, a little more focused, and a little more predictable. He doesn't also own a fighter jet, for example. The Akane figure, the one who is, the Shampoo figure is Lum, is what I would say. Shampoo and Lum sort of
Yes.
map on each other. Only, I think Lum is a better character in my opinion. But the Akane in Urusei Yatsura doesn't have martial arts. She's just kind of the normal one and the uptight one who likes the main boy.
Yeah, she leads more into the nagging housewife archetype.
And the main boy, he's like Hapusai, but a boy. Like, he's very straightforward. He's cursed and he's lecherous, and that's it. So that they have those, you can use them, but I think also they aren't as interesting as the characters from Ranma 1/2, because they're not as iconic. Like Ataru doesn't, you don't look at Ataru and think about Ataru's character and say, wow, Ataru. But even, Nabiki is a great design, even though she's simple. You look at Nabiki, and then if you know her character traits, you put them together and you're like, whoa. That's the Nabiki. And same with Shampoo, same with Ukyo, same with Akane after she cuts her hair, Kasumi, Sound, Panda. It's like if you were doing I'm not saying... The Wacky Stack style is different to me from the Ranma style, because Wacky Stacks isn't necessarily escalation. It's like a series of jokes that keeps getting told. Yeah. But if you were doing Wacky Stack style, if I was just like, yeah, they're at a book fair, and then I just put a picture of Genma on that, I'm like, Genma's at the book fair, and we all know what's going to happen. Probably the panda is going to cause chaos. We have a good idea. And they are so iconic. It reminds me about... there was a discussion I heard talking about Wolverine of X-Men fame, where he's like this iconic character that makes the story about him just by showing up. And, in Urusei Yatsura, the only iconic character who makes the story about them just by being there is Lum. You can tell other stories, but they don't take over the story. And that's I think why Ranma 1/2 is such a strong character show, but it's also its downfall. In terms of, you can't write these simple sweet stories. That's, I think you did in the calendar episode, did you talk about the song I Can't Be a Sweet Nice Girl?
No, but yeah, that is one of the character songs.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
The Baka song.
Yeah, it's Akane singing a song about how she can't be a sweet, nice girl. She's got metal-sounding guitars. She's screaming. She's yelling idiot a lot. There's even a little interlude where she's like, gentle and nice and happy, blah, blah, blah. And then she's just starts yelling and cussing. I mean, as much as you can cuss in Japanese. And because she can't. It's not just that she won't. This character can't just do the thing. The characters are so strong.
She can't contain herself.
Yeah, Akane is going to Akane, or she's not going to feel like Akane. And if they try to write her any other way, she's not going to feel like Akane to the audience. And Nabiki, even if, this is why I think it's important, she's going to be very specific. She's going to be towing this line between, yeah, I want to make some money so I can go to McDonald's or get a CD, but also, I care about my sisters, and I'm going to try to treat them right. And that's going to be a big thing. And that's why Nabiki's the perfect woman, whether or not she's a panda. Because I've found women who just want money, and I found women who don't want money and just want love. But why can't I find someone who wants both? What am I doing wrong, Elena?
Maybe you're just looking in realms with too many dimensions. Maybe you just need to stick to the two-dimensional world.
Sounds like you're saying I need to go to dakimakura.com, the home of all of the dakimakuras in the world.
Oh, I'm sure there is a Nabiki dakimakura, of course. I would be upset if there wasn't.
Let's go find out.
Hey folks, we're talking from the future here. We experienced some technical issues. Nothing severe. In fact, we actually did finish recording, but we experienced multiple interruptions and had to kind of rush through some parts. So, I don't know, I just wasn't too happy with how that second half turned out. So, we're just starting over. We're just scrapping the parts after the technical issue started, which thankfully gave us plenty of time to find those dakimakuras. How's that search going?
We definitely didn't spend an entire month searching for Nabiki dakimakuras. That's definitely not what happened. And I am sad to report that while I can find you a big butt Akane dakimakura keychain and some really gnarly looking Ranma ones that look like they glued fake boobs onto a character's shirt, Nabiki does not show up in the dakimakura market. And I feel like that's a shame, because I know there used to be like these tasteful dakimakura warehouses out there. I think the market seems to think everyone who wants a dakimakura is a pervert.
I remember back when there used to be like dakimakuras shaped like a boyfriend so that his arms wrap around you and keep you safe while you sleep.
Isn't that sweet? None of that. No, but you can get male Ranma flexing his big muscles on a dakimakura or dakimakura keychain.
Times have changed, although I am intrigued by the fact that there are keychain versions now. But more importantly, though, on our end, we're gonna repeat a couple of the first few points. But to listeners, we just wrapped up talking about the shape of a Ranma story, and the one thing I wanted to add to that, which I already did in the past, but here in the future, the one detail that I feel really makes it a Ranma story is the thing that we've called the swerve.
The swerve.
Which, if I had to explain it quickly, which we certainly didn't before.
Nope.
But due to laptop problems.
Might have taken 4 hours.
When I say the swerve, I'm basically saying that, like, Ranma stories have to eventually return to the status quo. And as discussed, Ranma stories typically begin by disrupting the status quo and escalating that. So the swerve is essentially what pivots us back towards the status quo. We might not get there till the end, but it's the beginning of the dominoes that will return things back to normal. Like, a good example is Ranma and Nabiki getting engaged. The entire first half of that story is just, Ranma and Nabiki are now engaged. What does that mean? There's not a lot of plot involved in the first half. Not a lot happens. It's mostly people reacting to this change. But then halfway through the story, when she tells Ranma that she loves him, that's the beginning of the series of events that end with Ranma and Akane getting back together and Nabiki's just dusting her hands, job well done. Status quo is returned. We will never acknowledge this story ever again.
And that's very important. You don't acknowledge previous stories unless you want to acknowledge previous stories, much like The Simpsons. And unlike The Simpsons, this is one of the big differences between Ranma's return to status quo and The Simpsons. In The Simpsons, you keep going, you blow up the world, you kill all the characters, you destroy the sun, and everything just resets as the credits roll. You don't need to worry about it. You know when you start at the next one, it's going to be back to normal. And Ranma, because there's a world with some things that still stick around, there is this need to return to the normalcy within the confines of the story. So the example I'm using is the Shinosuke story, which we talked about previously. It starts off with Ranma and Akane, or Akane runs away, and she ends up taking care of this really handsome guy with no memory, and she's like, oh, I remember you as a child, we were childhood friends. And Ranma's mad because he's like, oh my gosh, she doesn't want to be with me, that hurts my pride, and also I miss her. And it's words and feelings and giant silly animals, but mostly words and feelings and angst. And then all of a sudden, he starts dying, and so she has to run out to get this curative moss. And to get that curative moss, you have to defeat a giant snake called, I think, Orochi. And then transitions the story from words and feelings, which Ranma is really bad at, because if he's trying to connect with you with words, he's going to call you an idiot and probably ugly.
He's probably going to make it worse.
Yeah, but now he's like, oh, I can just shut my mouth and punch things and catch Akane in my big, manly, muscular Ranma arms. And she'll be like, oh, Ranma. Because she's like, she's in these cool action pants and she's using a top wrap. And, it's very, watch the OAVs. It's a good one. And then at the end, it's like, it doesn't even, she's not going to go back with Shinosuke because Ranma and her, they defeated the snake together. And they did the thing, and they saved Shinosuke, but in the process of doing that, they also demonstrated through actions that they have affection for each other. And that swerve, that moment, takes the story and bends it from being away from status quo and twists it back. And no, you will be in the status quo forever. There is no escape. The divine will of comedy will not let you.
Yeah, like Akane having a new love interest that she's actually kind of into, that would be a huge change up to the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
But once it becomes about, well, now we have to fight this dragon, suddenly there's no threat to the status quo. We have shifted focus to something that could easily end with Ranma and Akane going back together and saying goodbye to their friend Shinosuke, who never gets mentioned again, despite him being billed as this important person in Akane's life. So that story's done now.
He takes up 2 whole OAV episodes, but he doesn't remember them, so he's never going to find it. He's like, what if Ryoga couldn't just get lost, but couldn't even remember where he was headed?
A lot of overlaps there, which might explain why he didn't stick around.
But keep an eye on this words and feelings transitioning into actions and feelings thing, because I feel like that's a Ranma switch up. We put Ranma in a feelings and words situation, so he messes up, and then we let him use his actions to dig himself out of the grave dig himself out of the hole that he has put himself in, I think. So I think you've got a story for me now. It's story time, kids.
Yeah. It's a weird segue since we did like 90% of the setup like a month ago.
Yep.
But all of that, this whole discussion that listeners have been hearing pasted together has been to just sort of establish what is a Ranma story.
Mm-hmm.
How do they work? What are they shaped like? What's the general pattern that Rumiko Takahashi tries to go through? Because, Nabiki in general is just a good example of a lot of things because she's always around. So we conveniently have, like, the only other 2 stories about her. So, you recall, there is one story, it's pretty much the only other story in the manga where Nabiki gets a main focus. And it's in that final run, like the last 100 or so chapters. I believe we discussed this in previous episodes. That little run of stories where you could kind of feel Rumiko Takahashi being like, oh, this is the last time I'm gonna get to use Nabiki like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna do like 50 jokes in a row. Just make a single chapter that's just pure wacky nonsense. Here is getting all the Nabiki out of my system.
I just want to say, you can't get Nabiki out of my system. But also, in the part that will never be heard, it was very amusing looking back to think about as I slowly had bits of memory of this storyline reawakening, sort of like Sixth Sense, remembering, oh my gosh, this is the true story that we're following here, because I recognized it, but I didn't remember it. So take it away.
Yeah, it's unsurprising you didn't, like, fully remember it, because it's one of those single chapter stories where not a lot happens. It kind of just felt like just trying to shove in as many jokes as possible. Very, very, like, Airplane or Naked Gun style. Anyways, as I mentioned, in this final run of storylines, a lot of the characters experience changes that don't actually stick or mean anything. You know, Ryoga gets a girlfriend, but he continues to pine after Akane and the girlfriend kind of doesn't exist. Ukyo gets a new roommate, but then we immediately set up the final few arcs, so it's not like it matters that there's a new character living here. We never really get to see them. And this story with Nabiki, I find fascinating how it begins, because it begins by establishing that she has no more money. It starts with explaining that she spent all of her savings on these concert tickets, and by the end of the arc, it's not like she makes that money back. I believe she will eventually, but not overnight. So, like, I could only assume that for the rest of the series after that chapter, Nabiki is broke. But that never matters. It never comes up. But it's just interesting that this is the change. This is a major change to her character that just doesn't really influence anything. But it starts with her having spent all of her money on these concert tickets for her favorite band. And unfortunately, Ranma accidentally bumps into her, knocks the tickets into an open flame, and they just set ablaze, and he's like, oh shoot, sorry, was that important? And then very next panel is just Akane being like, hey, we're gonna run errands. You sure you don't want to come with us? And Nabiki just like, it's okay, Akane, don't worry about it. I mean, sure, it would have been nice if I could go to the concert, but that's not important. At least I have Ranma keeping me company.
Now, in his defense, he is apologetic, uncharacteristically apologetic and caring and sensitive to the fact that he did a major faux pas. If this was Akane, he would probably tease her. But for the Nabiki Ranma shippers, this is like, he's showing, one could argue, genuine remorse. He doesn't just get her food when she says he's hungry, he gets sushi. You know what I'm saying? He's tending. He's tending a tendo. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so the first half of this story is just Ranma, like, he knows he screwed up. He can't pay her back, so he's just trying to make up for it and just be nice to her. He gets her food. Like you said, he gets her sushi. He tries to do stuff for her. And Nabiki's just being kind of passive-aggressive, which leads to some funny jokes. Again, there's so many jokes. Joke. At one point, there's, like, a joke where, like, Tatuaki Kudo, age 17, shows up for, like, 2 panels, and then they just punch him through the roof. And, like, it's like, why was he in their house? I don't know. Don't think about it. On to the next joke.
It's like that Marvel event where they were ending the entire Marvel line. Everyone's universe is going to end. You got to do as much as you can in the time you have left.
Yes, very rapid-fire humor, and I like that it eventually leads to Ranma being like, okay, fine, I know what you want. And then cut to Ranma wearing sexy lingerie, modeling for Nabiki as she takes photos. He's like, are you sure you're okay with this? He's like, yeah, it's fine. It's cool. He knows this is what Nabiki really wants. And she's getting it. He is not resisting. He's not, like, complaining. He is wearing whatever she wants him to. And, you know, again, you can read it however you want. I just think it's interesting that even Ranma is aware that the thing Nabiki wants most is him wearing sexy underwear.
Why? Now, she does make money off of this, but is that the only reason she wants these? Just think about that. Just let that simmer.
Who knows? After this, we then get to, we already took the pin out, but we put it back in so we can pull it out. Here is where we get the racket. We find out that Nabiki does have a mailing list.
Right. She's got it's global, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe. After taking the pictures, Ranma is then helping her put stuff in envelopes for her mailing list. And I love that he's less upset and more just confused by the logistics of like, why are there so many of these? Who are these people?
Here's a question. Is this evidence for Ace Ranma, who is just like, I don't understand why people would even want to look at a naked woman?
Maybe. Ranma's definitely got those vibes. Like, he understands that, like, physical attraction exists. But yeah, he is just kind of confused of, like, do these people... I don't think I even know this many people. Who are these people buying these little hand towels with pictures of Ranma on them? Why did you make this merch specifically?
Why is there Ranma merch but not Nabiki merch? That's what I want to know. Ranma is with me on this.
Yeah, again, if she just wanted money, she could be way more efficient. She could be selling merch of herself. She could be manipulating Akane or Shampoo or trying to get merch, naked pictures of all these other characters. But no, she only does it with Ranma. She only wants Spider-Man pictures. Those are the only ones that matter.
You're really going hard on the Spider-Man bit.
So yeah. And around here is when we get the swerve. Because in the middle of setting up all this merch for this mailing list, Ranma knocks over a bottle of ink, and because talking is a free action, in the time it takes for this ink to spill, Nabiki explains to Ranma that the blouse she's wearing is very expensive, and if it gets dirty, she's adding it to his bill. So he jumps in the way and pushes her over and ends up landing on top of her in a very provocative pose, only for him to then hear a click and reveal that in the next panel she was holding onto a string attached to a camera so she could take a very unfortunate picture of the two of them.
First of all, you say unfortunate. I think that panel specifically, for many Nabiki fans, is a very fortunate panel. It did a lot of activation of young minds to teenage anime fans in the 90s. And the photo is so it's almost like she set this whole thing up. Like a Rube Goldberg machine. Like, first, I'm going to make Ranma trip. Then he's going to knock over the ink. But then he's going to stop the ink. And I'm going to have the camera set up already. And I'm going to pull it. She's got traps. She's not, we talked earlier about her fighting potential. She might not win in a direct fight. But she's got these planned ahead, very elaborate schemes that aren't like genius level. But they reveal like they're a JoJo level of, I wanted you to punch me because now you're in my range type stuff. It's very, very smart.
Yeah. This does raise the question because upon taking this photo, she can now blackmail Ranma. But here's where it gets weird because, like, he's already doing everything she wants. They just had the scene. He is taking pictures of him. He is wearing the underwear for her. He is helping her sell photos of himself without complaining. She doesn't need blackmail. She's clearly just doing this for fun. She has nothing to gain from blackmailing him. All this does is swerve the story. Because from this point onwards, Ranma's had enough. And he's like, okay, I'm done. I tried being nice. Nabiki's playing dirty. So from this point on, the chapter just becomes a Tom and Jerry cartoon as Ranma tries to get back at Nabiki. At one point, he literally is chasing her as she turns a corner, and when he also turns the corner, she's waiting with a broom to trip him like a cartoon. It's so wacky as it just becomes them running around the house, and it is just pure cartoon nonsense. And I'm pretty sure that was her goal. She doesn't have anything to gain from blackmailing Ranma other than, well, now she gets to run around the house and have fun with him. They're playing.
One thing you mentioned in the previous discussion no one will ever hear is that she looks incredibly happy in this moment. She is joyful as she runs, but also this is following that same progression I mentioned earlier where in the Shinosuke story, where first it's like words and feelings, only he's actually being sensitive and not a jerk, but now it's actions and feelings. It's another swerve. It's changed the nature of the story, but now it's chaos and broom tripping and all sorts of funny hijinks. Ranma is a world of comedy. We already have discussed in previous episodes the divine will of comedy. It wants funny, and what could be a higher value than being together with somebody doing something funny? And that's to her, that's like the ultimate form of togetherness. And so without really any sort of reason to do it, she's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, I mean, yeah, I could sell this picture, but what I really want is I want you to chase me.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe even Rumiko Takahashi didn't notice, because you could easily read that chapter as Nabiki's just being a stinker for no reason. She's just being a hater. But I think there is good reason.
She is a stinker. She is a Bugs Bunny just for fun. But that's also, forgive me, that's her love language. Maybe.
Yeah. And again, these are rapid fire pranks. You're getting like 2 or 3 of these bits per page. The joke with Kudo at one point is when Ranma finds a love letter in her room. Like, it's a letter with a big heart on it, addressed to Tatsuaki Kudo. And he's like, aha! Look what I found! And she's like, Ranma, where did you get that? No one's supposed to see that. And again, this is where Kudo is just in their house for 2 panels for no reason, and just opens the letter, and the joke is that it's a bill. I just love the mental image of Nabiki sneaking it into his shoe locker and then waiting in the corner to watch him open it, thinking that it's a love letter, but it's just an invoice. But yeah, rapid fire jokes. At one point, Ranma knocks her out. He's like, oh, Nabiki, are you okay? And then reveals that, like, she wrote in red marker, like, Ranma killed me.
Oh my god.
She didn't get to go to the concert, so I guess this is just how she's deciding to entertain herself. And eventually we get the final joke, where it's like, okay, fine. And then she just starts taking off her clothes.
This is the other panel that I mentioned that changed things for a bunch of Nabiki fans.
Yeah, Rob's just like, what are you doing? And then immediately we hear Akane downstairs like, we're home! And Nabiki is just like, oh no, Ranma! What are we gonna do? Oh no, Akane's gonna walk in on us! How do we explain this? And Rob's just like, just stop taking your clothes off. Just stop. All you have to do is just stop. No, don't do that. Just stop it, no!
Now, think about just how many fanfics this must have inspired. This was Takahashi feeding the shippers, but simultaneously messing with them. It's hard to, the number of times I've heard this chapter discussed on forums back in the day. It was a big one. It was a very notable moment, is what I will say.
I'm not sure. Maybe times have just changed too much, but our results in the dakimakura search,
I know,
has me wondering just how far the reach of these moments were.
See, back in the day, you could get a shiitake, which is a pencil board. You could get some really nice, authentic, official merch shiitake of just Nabiki, looking stylish in all sorts of outfits if you wanted, and I have too. And when there was a figure set of little gacha figures, there's always the Nabiki. She's in there. And it's, there was a lot. And now they're just not feeding the Nabiki fans anymore. We're starving, Takahashi. Save us.
But yeah, after that, it's then revealed that she just has like a tube top and miniskirt underneath. So she wasn't fully stripping. She's got other clothes underneath. And after Ranma's already promised to just do whatever she wants. So she tricked him one last time. And Akane walks in. She's like, what's going on? And Nabiki's like, oh, Ranma asked me to model for him. And just leaves. And we get a joke that I'm not sure how accurate it is because it wasn't in the most recent Viz translation of the manga, but I remember once reading a fan translation where, like, Akane's final line was like, I don't mind you asking Nabiki to model, but, like, wasn't she mad at you? What happened? Did I miss something? And Ram was just like, she got over it. Zoom in. That's all, folks. That's the end of that Looney Tunes adventure. But I cannot help but fixate on the part where Akane basically says she does not mind Ranma asking her sister to model sexy clothes.
It does suggest some things about a sisterly bond.
Yeah, but that's that story. And again, by the end of it, like, Nabiki didn't earn her money back. She spent all of her savings on these tickets. Concert tickets are expensive. Although, then again, they're not that expensive. The fact that she spent all of her savings on just one concert ticket tells me that she doesn't have as much saved up as you might think.
Well, how much money can you get from Ranma anyway? You gotta turn Ranma into money.
Well, like I said, that's kind of the only other story in the manga that's about Nabiki. She doesn't really get much else beyond just general appearances. And even if I include anime filler, there aren't really any Nabiki-focused episodes. I kind of have to stretch a little bit, but I have another story from the anime, and it ties into Nabiki and all these other themes we brought up. Before I get to that, what are your thoughts on Nabiki and Kuno as a ship?
I think if she wanted Kuno, she could have Kuno, and she's not interested. He's too easy a mark. He doesn't engage her. He doesn't... Okay, imagine a cat, all right? A cat will play with a toy.
Yeah.
And, I like this toy, but if I bat it around a little bit, and it does whatever I want, there's a limited engagement for that toy. Maybe she'll come back and play with it tomorrow, but that's it. But then there's other toys where, like, oh, it moves, it fights back. Oh, I like this. That's Ranma. So, like, Kuno is not... Kuno might try to resist, but he doesn't ever succeed. And Ranma also never resists her gambits, but he puts up way more of a fight, so he's a lot more fun for her to hunt.
It is just interesting because, like, he's basically the only other character outside of the family that she interacts with.
Yeah.
And just, like, there's that interaction where, like, they both clearly don't like each other, but she always talks to him in this kind of, like, half-flirty way.
Yeah.
In the sort of sense that, like, you kind of get the impression that she only talks to him like that because she knows it annoys him.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't she use Chan for him?
Yeah.
In the English, it's always Kuno baby, which I'm assuming is Chan.
Yeah. It does a good job of conveying the tone of, like, she's not using Chan affectionately.
It's mockingly. It's the same thing that you would do if you called, like, an 8-year-old boy Chan who doesn't want to be Chan anymore, but he's like, I'm not a Chan, I'm a Kun. Stop it. I'm mature now. Nah.
But yeah, there's very little in the series that explores that relationship between these two characters. The closest is, like, the second movie, which is just full of fan service of all kinds.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's more like, there's just, like, a bit where, like, she just kind of smiles at him while he's being an idiot. And that's, like, the only thing in all the non-canon stuff that implies some level of affection from her.
Yeah.
She does enjoy how stupid he is in her own way, at least according to that movie.
That's why I described it like, it's not like the cat doesn't like the toy that doesn't fight back. It's just there's a limited amount of enjoyment that can be gotten from it. It's potato chips, it's not a meal.
Yeah. And in general, Ranma is just not a series that expects us to take its ships seriously.
That's why we have to fight to the death over them.
Yeah. So, like, again, in that example where Nabiki becomes Ranma's fiancé, she practically looks at the camera and tells us that she is lying. She doesn't actually love him. She's basically saying, no, I'm just messing with him. Don't think about it too hard. It is the classic Rumiko Takahashi stance of, I don't think about that and neither should you. Don't sweat the details. We're just having fun here. And again, I see that and I'm like, I will decide how seriously I want to take this ship. You don't tell me what to do. And there's an episode that kind of does the same thing for this dynamic that we frequently see and we don't think too hard about. And the episode practically tells us, don't think about it too hard. We're just having fun here. Whereas I am like, okay, but for the next 22 minutes, you've spent the whole episode inceptioning this idea into my head, and now I can't get rid of it. Now I'm thinking about it. So, there is a filler episode that is about Kuno x Nabiki. And she is unfortunately not present in most of it. So
wait, what?
It's about the ship, but like there's not a lot of interaction, which I think is the worst part.
All right. I gotta let the listener in on a secret. Elena told me we were going to cover this story, and I didn't know what story it was, and she kept it very secret from me what the story was going to be. And I was like, oh, cool, a story I don't know very well, featuring Nabiki. But now that you say the episode that ships Kuno and Nabiki is also a Nabiki light episode, I'm just like, oh my god, no, what?
Again, I think that's the worst part of this episode, but we'll get into more in detail that.
That means it focuses on Kuno, doesn't it? It's a Kuno-heavy
Yes.
episode, isn't it?
It is a Kuno episode.
He's a boy!
I said that this is not really a Nabiki episode, but it's kind of about her, even though she's not really in it very often. Don't worry, though. It's got a fun setup.
Does Kuno get a cool skirt and everyone tells him he's pretty?
No. But there might be some similarities there on the fan fiction spectrum.
All right. How does it start?
Okay, so at the start of this episode, Sasuke, everyone's favorite ninja boy, is like, "Hey, Master Tatsuaki."
Wait. Who's Sasuke again? I don't know if he's come up on the show at all. I can't remember.
Yeah, Sasuke, the ninja butler that is exclusive to the anime.
Does he wear like an all-black suit or something?
Yeah, kind of. It's a ninja outfit. I'm surprised. I could have sworn he came up in episodes with you in it, but this might be your first time hearing about him.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the OAVs.
He was in some of them, but no, like, major roles. So yeah, so Sasuke is like, Master Tatsuaki, just letting you know, a friend of mine from ninja training is gonna be in town this weekend. And, we're just gonna catch up on old times, have some drinks, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, that sounds lovely. I hope you enjoy your day off, Sasuke. He's like, well, see, that's the thing. My friend is a very talented fortune teller.
Oh, no.
And he said that he can do a free fortune reading for you, if you'd like. We got this whole setup thing. Would you be interested? Like, that sounds lovely. I would love to do that. And so they do this whole fortune-telling ritual with this fortune-telling ninja guy that's friends with Sasuke. And long story short, the plot of this episode is that as a result of this fortune, Tatsuaki Kuno, age 17, is convinced that Nabiki is his soulmate. And he's basically going through the 5 stages of grief, where he starts off upset. I'm like, Nabiki! No! That's not how this is. No, there has to have been something wrong. I refuse to accept Noe Zetai. Absolutely. And then just over the course of the episode, he slowly starts coming around to the idea. I think one of my favorite jokes is in the middle of the episode, where he replaces all of his photos of Ranma and Akane with pictures of Nabiki.
So he traded up.
And is just standing.
It's better. It's better now. You made it better.
He's just standing in the room, surrounded by pictures of Nabiki, just kind of vibing it out. Just be like, I'm not sure. I mean, this isn't too bad. And I just love that that's his whole process.
Okay, that's fair. Oh, boy. I want to point something out there, by the way. Earlier, we made a point that Nabiki has 2 friends, and that's notable because most people have 0 friends in this show. And Sasuke has a friend.
Sasuke has a friend?
Just putting that in the ledger for later. I don't know if it's going to come back in a later episode, but he has a friend. So how do we feel about this fortune teller? Is he a quack? Is he reliable?
Okay, so first of all, the way the ritual works is this fortune teller guy, they're doing this fancy ritual. They got these special logs that they toss into a fire. They do a dance, and then he gazes into the fire and receives a vision, which he then recites, and Kuno writes it down on paper and proceeds to follow a series of ridiculously specific steps that are so specific, I cannot explain this as anything other than magic. This man saw something in that fire. The cosmos spoke to him.
Do we think it was the divine will of comedy, or do we think it was some sort of outsider, interloper, antediluvian demiurge.
Who knows how this vision works, but like halfway through the episode, we get a joke where it cuts back to Sasuke and his friends, and they're just cleaning up some stuff. And it's like, oh hey, what are these logs? Aren't these the ones we were supposed to burn? Oh, then does that mean we burned the wrong logs? Oops. Is that important? Who knows? It's probably not a big deal. So like, we're told that the ritual was done wrong. And by the end of the episode, the two ninjas reveal it to Kuno, and he gets upset. He's like, I'm so angry. All that wasted time, and it's the wacky, silly ending of he just wasted all that time for a fake fortune that was wrong. But again, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, maybe the fortune was misguided in some way, because specifically, the fortune teller asked Kuno, is there something you would like to know? And he's like, for too long I've been torn between two women, but I need to commit to one. I need to know who is my true soulmate? Who is the woman made for me? Who do I belong with? And that was the question. And maybe because the ritual was done incorrectly, whatever magic was involved led him to a different outcome. Maybe it wasn't telling him who his soulmate is. But either way, it led him to Nabiki.
Alright, what if it's not who do you belong with, but who do you belong to? Because he's clearly Nabiki's toy.
The important thing is that, as I said, the fortune is extremely specific. So the exact fortune, well, it's essentially wait until the crack of dawn. When you see the sun, run in this direction until you see a dog. Follow the dog until you can no longer follow it. Then look up. You will see a red sphere. Go in the direction of the sphere until you find a bridge. Cross the bridge, and someone else will be crossing it at the same time as you. That person is who you are fated to be with. That is extremely specific.
Okay, no, alright, that's a lot. That's very, yeah, now...
And he follows the instructions exactly, and it happens exactly as foretold. He waits, he is looking at the horizon, waiting till he can see the sun, and then immediately starts sprinting. He bumps into a dog, follows it, the dog runs into an alleyway where he can't fit, so he can't follow it anymore. He looks up, there's a red balloon floating by. It just happens to be there. He goes in the direction of the balloon. It just happens to lead to the riverbank. First bridge he sees, he crosses it. There's Nabiki.
So what does he do when he finds Nabiki?
Well, fun fact, this is a filler episode, but this episode implies that Nabiki is in the tennis club.
Huh?
Which is like, okay. I don't know why you decided on that specifically. Like, I think it makes sense. Nabiki is always leaving early before Ranma and Akane. She's fit. Makes sense for her to be in a club. It's interesting that they specifically settled on tennis.
Like, is she wearing a tennis outfit, or what is going on here?
Well, cause he sees her and he's like, Nabiki, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm walking. I'm heading to school. It is morning. I have morning practice. And she shows him the tennis racket. And it's just this little exchange. And she's like, you're being weird. Oh, well. And she just moves on. She doesn't pay much attention. She's not on the clock yet. She's not ready to mess with him. She just bumped into him on the way to school. And he's already acting weird. And the sun just came up, man. Let's do this another time.
All right. Interesting. And so Nabiki leaves and walks out of the episode for most of it after this scene.
Yes. Again, most of the episode is Kuno reacting to things. Right. Again, this feels like the first half of an arc. The feelings, the talking, etc. All the stuff that happens before a swerve. There's been a change to the status quo. There's no action yet. The episode is just reaction.
So it's almost like the setup I gave, where it's words and feelings, and then after the swerve, it's action feelings.
Yes. So most of the episode is just that.
All right.
It is the pre-swerve parts of an arc. Now, This episode, I feel like it does connect to that one Ukyo episode that feels fanfiction-y. Because this episode is perhaps the most humanized Kuno has ever been in anything.
Okay.
It tries to give him some kind of an arc, which is just fascinating to me. But in a way that I'm like, there could be people who look at this episode and think that this is too fanfiction-y. I don't know where the line is for some people. For me, this still feels like something Rumiko Takahashi would write, but only as a setup to something. Again, this story so far is pre-swerve. Rumiko Takahashi would eventually swerve this into something wacky.
So she would bring in Sasuke to bring in a fortune teller to focus on Kuno. See, the Kuno bit, because it focuses on Kuno and not Ranma or a Tendo or one of the really main characters like maybe a Shampoo, Kuno feels, lesser, not in terms of like, he's the first bad guy, but he's not at the same rank as a lot of the other characters in terms of how often he shows up in Ranma. I feel like sort of feels like he's off to the side.
So I'd say this feels more like the first 2 pages of the chapter is Ryoga bumping into a calligraphy guy that paints something on his stomach.
Yeah.
And then we cut to him meeting Ranma.
Yeah.
This feels like the setup to something, except it feels like this arc is an adaptation of something that was too long for 1 episode, but not long enough for 2. So they split it in half, but now they need to pad out this first half so that they could end on a good stopping point.
Almost like the story arc would be like, okay, so Kuno becomes convinced that Nabiki's his soulmate, and then this impacts the household in Ranma by fill in the blank. Only we never get that blank filled in.
Yes. We don't get to that swerve.
That's not even the swerve. That's still part of the setup. Hasn't even escalated yet, really.
Yeah. But I feel like if it were Rumiko Takahashi, she would use this to jump into a new setup of like, maybe Nabiki would start dating Kuno, but just to like use him.
Yeah.
And Rama and Akane are like, oh my god, they're even worse together. They're making things worse. We have to break them up. Or something wacky like that happening. For now, the story is Kuno is having feelings about this information. There's no action yet.
This feels like half, I don't know. I mean, maybe more happens in the episode. I mean, I feel like there's more that happens, but I'm not even seeing escalation yet. Anyway, I should let you get back to telling it, I think. Yeah,
so there's a lot happens while also nothing happens. It's one of those episodes.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of saying the same thing. Like there's not a lot. Have you heard this statement? There's not a lot of there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So.
I guess the most important moment of this episode is a very interesting one. This is one of those moments where I'm like, maybe this will feel too fanfiction-y. I think it's funny, because to me, sincerity makes things funnier, and the act of Kuno taking this seriously, him going from anger and denial to maybe kind of accepting it, is where it becomes funnier. And the specific moment is like, he is at school, they're in class taking a test, and he drops his eraser, and it bounces over to Nabiki's desk. So she just kind of like picks it up and hands it over, and then she winks at him. Okay. And then he just blushes. He's like,
That's cute.
It is cute. Tatawaki Kuno blushing is like, that's not who that character is. That is not how he thinks.
But that's definitely Nabiki.
Yeah. But, like, the whole time, like, he's getting in his head. He's being like, it cannot be, while also being aware of the fact that, like, damn it, I've been thinking about this all day. Get out of my head. And then she winks at him, and he's like, and just having this moment of, like, is Nabiki cute?
Yes.
That's the thing that gets him to, like, that's what maybe feels the most fanfiction-y to me, is the fact that this is what gets him willing to accept that maybe the world doesn't revolve around him. Maybe he was wrong about something. He starts to think like, the cosmos have led me to Nabiki. I don't know why, but maybe there is something there. Maybe there is something I am missing. Maybe she truly is the one for me.
Not
And
for
it's
you.
just so interesting.
Huh.
Again, this is the most he gets humanized. He gets a little mini arc.
Huh.
But here's also where we are pretty much told the fortune was wrong. The ninjas did it wrong. They burned the wrong logs. So don't worry about it. Don't think about it. It's not going to matter. But like, regardless of whether or not the fortune was whatever the fortune was, Tatewaki Kudo is having real emotions and real contemplation over his relationship with Nabiki. He is giving this serious thought.
Wait, is that Ranma? Do Ranma stories have contemplation like that? I guess Akane gets to.
Not really. That's why I'm like, I think sincerity makes things funnier. Of like, the fact that he's actually taking this seriously kind of makes it funny. But also, that is very much not how any of these characters are ever depicted.
I'm thinking about the Shinosuke arc, because that has Akane genuinely thinking of, maybe I should be with Shinosuke out here. But even that's like, it's more like she's thinking and acting at the same time. You know, she's tending to him. She's getting water. He's sick. She's mending wounds. She's talking with Grandpa. It's not just, you know, funny Grandpa crying because Shinosuke is going to die in the background. It's not just thought. It's words. This is, I don't know. Does he talk to anyone about this?
Yes. So, first thing he does, and this is where you're like, oh god, he's actually being serious about this. He goes to Akane, and he's like, Akane Tendo, it is with a broken heart I must inform you that we cannot be together. I have found another. I understand. No, do not try and convince me otherwise. This is difficult, but I need you to understand. This is simply how it must be. Ranma Saotome, please take good care of Akane Tendo. That will be all. And then he just leaves. And this is a weird subplot that goes nowhere, but there's like 2 or 3 scenes where we kind of see Akane just being very empathetic towards Kudo.
That's interesting.
Because Ranma's like, that was weird. What's he up to now? Similar to Nabiki's reaction earlier in the episode. Whereas Akane is like, oh, he must be serious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to say Akane is more sensitive than Nabiki, because I don't know if that holds true, but it makes sense that she would pick up on it and Ranma wouldn't.
In general, I noticed there's a lot of filler episodes that try and portray Akane a lot more empathetic towards the rival characters. Like, in the manga, we're told anytime Ranma and Akane get in a fight, a lot of people are quick to tell Ranma, like, no, Akane might be rough around the edges, but she's very kind and sweet once you get to know her. You should, understand she's a good girl. But we don't get to see her be kind and sweet very often. We're just told that she is.
I'm not sure I'd agree with that. I mean, we see it with Ryoga. We see it with Pichan, who is also Ryoga. We see it with Shinosuke. You know, I mean, when there's a male that suitor for Akane, I think she's kind to them and she considers them.
I guess what I mean is that, like, when she is being nice, it's in a very generic, polite way. She's friendly with Ryoga, but, like, she's not being, like, super sweet or empathetic. It's just like, yeah, we're friends. It's not a very deep connection. Whereas filler gives us moments. Like, a good one is the Lang Lang and Ling Ling filler episode of Shampoo and her sisters.
Yeah.
Because in that one, Akane is the character that's like, Ranma, Shampoo is fighting her own family because of you. She's like, she has disowned her sisters. Her family is falling apart. She's supposed to be your friend. The least you could do is help her. And I think that's noteworthy because, like, Akane doesn't even like Shampoo. But she acknowledges that, like, she is Ranma's friend. Ranma, you should help her. She is actually going through a serious problem because of you. You should do something about this. And we don't get a lot of those moments in the manga, I feel.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. I see it.
So then the next thing that's like, oh god, he really is serious. He then invites Nabiki out to talk. And they go to a restaurant and we get the bit where, like, Nabiki's kind of just messing with him because he's about to say something and she's like, I could go for some pasta. Can we order yet? And then cut to her eating and she keeps interrupting him. She keeps not letting him say the thing he wants because she's getting free food out of him. And she clearly doesn't seem to care. Like, she has no reason to believe that this is a serious discussion because it's Kuno. Why would it be something serious? Then, he gives her a journal and says that he wants to do an exchange diary with her.
Aww.
Because he wants to get to know each other better.
That's interesting, because they know each other probably better than most of any two characters on the show.
Yes, but again, the epiphany he's having is that his fortune, fate, has decided that he and Nabiki are soulmates, and he's no longer fighting it. Now his new goal is to realize, what have I been missing? What is it about Nabiki Tendo that makes her the perfect woman for me? There's something here that I need to find. Clearly, I don't know Nabiki. Clearly, I don't understand her if I have not already fallen in love with her. We need to fix this. And I like that, he doesn't immediately try to date her. He doesn't try to pursue her. His first goal is to get to know each other better. He is making steps towards building a healthy relationship for once.
Which is not a thing he normally does.
To me, I think that's funny. That's the funny part.
Yeah,
we get to see what he's like when he's actually trying to take a relationship seriously, and the end result is a very, puppy love kind of romance. It's very sweet and gushy, and they're just exchanging diaries. It's very childish, not unlike Kodachi's form of romance. When Kuno's pursuing Akane or the pigtail girl, it's very much in a, I am the best, therefore I deserve the best. These two girls are the best. Obviously they're into me because I'm the best. He is so confident in how things should be. He assumes
that they're into him. He doesn't even begin to process their multiple rejections of him. When they're go away, and they kick him in the face, he's just like, oh, you're playing hard to get. That's great. His brain is broken and unable to process the reality of the words he is hearing. And yet with Nabiki, it sounds like he's very anchored to reality. And he's like, okay, well, I gotta learn more. Almost like the passionate love that he gets to these other two girls drives him insane. But when he's thinking about, well, how do you get to know someone? He becomes more rational, and he remembers oh yeah, this is a thing you do. You do an exchange diary. You talk with the person. You take them out to eat. Things he doesn't really do with with Kasumi. Nope. Things he doesn't do with Akane and Ranma female. Yeah. Ranma female. Female is her last name, by the way.
Yes. True. And so this is where I feel maybe Nabiki is a little out of character, because at this point she's just confused. She's basically of the mindset of Kuno's doing something weird, but I don't have the energy for this today, so I'm just gonna go home. Okay. And I'm I don't know, there's not enough Looney Tune in there for me.
Does she agree to do the diary, or is she no?
She takes it home and then just leaves it on the table, and Ranma's what's this? She's I don't know, something Kuno wanted to do, I don't care. And then Ranma and Hopplesai, it's weird that Hopplesai gets in on it. They're hey, what if we just mess with him? And then all three of them just start writing in the diary of just pranking Kuno, just to write something stupid to mess with him. And then Akane gets upset with them.
So it's Ranma, Hopplesai, and Nabiki who are doing the jokes, and Akane is hey, wait, I'm final girl. You gotta be nice to him. I'm gonna make you all like me, even though I might have hammer space and hit Ranma with hammers sometimes. Is that how it's going down?
Pretty much. Akane is basically the only one who's guys, it seems like he's being serious. Are you sure we want to discourage this? Isn't this how he should be acting if he's interested in a girl? We shouldn't just treat it as a joke. And it's just interesting because then that plot goes nowhere. That's the last time we really see Akane interact with this story. Because there's 5 minutes left to the episode.
We're at 5 minutes to the ending, but the action hasn't risen yet. You need
action. Again, there's not a lot of there.
We need rising action. Put more yeast in the dough or something. I don't know.
Again, this feels like they have to take everything up to a swerve, but they needed to put in filler scenes in the middle to pad out the episode so that we could end on a swerve. But instead of the swerve, the episode just ends.
Huh. How does it end, if we're there?
So, there's like a moment where like, Kuno is like, I understand now. I understand. All I can think about is Nabiki. There are so many things about her I never realized. I'm learning so many things. And like, he gets called up by the teacher to solve a problem, but he's not paying attention. So instead, he just writes Nabiki's name on the chalkboard. And then the whole class is like, ooh! And he's like, no. Sorry. So he's trying to erase it, and he's embarrassed.
What has he learned in this situation? Do we know of anything he's actually learned about her?
I don't think so.
He says he's learned things.
Yeah. Again, the whole episode like has scenes practically telling me not to think about it. But like, I can't not look at these scenes and not think about it. You're putting the ideas there. I'm seeing how he would react to being attracted to Nabiki. His like revelations. And I'm like, that's interesting. But now the ending is like the whole class is like, ooh, what's this? Oh, he's doing stuff. And then he gets embarrassed. And then after school, he invites Nabiki out back and decides to profess his love to her. And then Ranma shows up. And like, Ranma shows up as the pigtail girl. This is very poorly explained. I think Ranma is trying to prove that Kuno has not changed. Because he shows up in girl form, he's like, Kuno-senpai, catch me! And just starts flirting with him, causing Kuno to immediately revert back to his old character. And he's like, of course I love Nabiki Tendo, and also the pigtail girl, and Akane Tendo. There's room for me for all three of us. All three of you to enjoy me. Let us come together. And then the three of them just kick him and launch him, send him blasting off again. Which, I like that Nabiki gets to join in on the kicking for once. Good for her. But like, the whole time in that scene, I'm like, Nabiki didn't even get to react to this revelation before it's immediately like drowned out and revealed that like, oh no, he didn't actually change, never mind.
Yeah,
And then the final scene is him going home and the ninjas tell him it was fake and he's like, oh dang it, wah, and that's the end of the episode.
No, okay.
And maybe now hopefully you understand what I mean when I say that like this feels like the first half of an arc, but instead of a swerve, they just suddenly pivot to an ending.
I don't know if I can go that, if I would go that far with it. I'm not even sure it has that. Here's another question for me though. We don't see her reaction. Earlier, he says to Akane, I can't be with you because I love Nabiki. But then he pivots and he then changes his mind and says, I can be with all three of you. Right? Like that's yes. What he does? All right.
Correct.
I've got a theory going on here. I want you to consider two ancient supernatural, some ancient supernatural creatures. We've got Ebiten, first of all, one of the seven lucky gods, hailing from Nekonran, the oldest and wisest of the warriors. All right. Now the seven lucky gods aren't literal gods, but maybe they kind of descend from gods. Maybe there's something supernatural there. I haven't watched that movie recently, so maybe. Second, we've got the ancient sealed demon, the one that possesses everybody, including Kasumi, right? Holy box for eons, can control the will of others. That might be connected to this, or like some other spirit that you connect to through the smoke. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the point is that there are ancient wild creatures and demons and magic in this world. We don't get a lot of them, but they do exist. And I wonder...
Yeah.
I wonder if we had a window into the psychic realm, the spirit realm of Ranma Earth, and that something dark and possibly a corrupted spirit of comedy slipped out and perverted Kuno during this episode and made him act this way. But then it wasn't very strong because it couldn't sustain itself because, it's a spirit of corrupted comedy. The divine will of comedy won't let it stay there because it's just not that funny. That's my headcanon right now. What do you think?
I think that any headcanon we can give this is valid simply out of spite, because again, when the story is telling me not to think about it, I'm just like, oh yeah, just watch me. We could talk. We could headcanon our own divine entities that control the Ranma universe through comedy.
Well,
whatever the reason we can give.
all right. I just want to say, the divine will of comedy, I feel like that's practically canon at this point. There's no other way to really explain the way that the Ranmirth works. I mean, as Ranma academics, or Rakademics as I like to call us, we have achieved multiple truths. You know, the spirit animal powers, the way fighting power allows someone transformed to transcend their physical form. The divine will of comedy that controls destiny. I'm not saying this proves my particular theory here. Just it seems in some way that what Gendo is doing, the fortune teller is doing, the burning of the wood, it feels connected to some sort of ancient supernatural evil, or maybe not even evil, just ancient supernatural something. And we know those exist. We know there's a ton of ancient things, you know. We've got a tree that absorbs spirits, if I remember correctly at one point. There's all of these things, you know. We got a little paper doll. We got the killer doll, you know, the one that Akane swaps bodies with at one point. It feels like it's in the realm of the spiritualism of Ramna One Half that it could have impacted him. Now that doesn't mean Kuno couldn't be like Nabiki's third or fourth husband, but he's not going to be her number one. It's not going to happen. She's too picky. She wants someone she vibes with first. Are we good on that episode? Should we move on to the next?
Well, yeah, that is roughly that. But I guess to like tie everything off, like again, there's definitely magic at play here. The whole thing with the dog and the balloon and the bridge.
Yeah, there's something.
There's still something mystical happening here that led Kuno on this journey of discovery. It didn't stick, but momentarily he had a moment of retrospection that could have led to him changing for the better. And it's just interesting to think about.
It's like a lot of the other things in the world, you know, like, we did it wrong, but that doesn't mean it didn't work. You know, they did the wrong ritual, but they did a ritual. They told, maybe not a fortune, maybe they made a curse. We don't know. It's something. And it was real, and it impacted him. And honestly, if it had been 2 episodes, if we had been able to see Nabiki reacting to that, and maybe turning it into a story, I think that would have been great. I would have loved that as a 2-parter. But they focused on the bad part.
I don't even think it's the bad part. I just feel like, again, it feels like they wanted to stop at this point, and it's like, well, we've only got like 12 minutes, so pad out some scenes in between.
Yeah.
But like the framework, this feels like it is kind of following that setup
it could have.
Rumiko Takahashi follows. It just sort of doesn't commit to it. Whereas something like the Ukiyo fanfiction episode feels like it just completely starts off on the wrong foot with the wrong intention, as opposed to just being incomplete.
I see where you're going with that. It does make sense to me. I don't know if I agree necessarily. I feel like I'd have to watch the episode, honestly. And maybe I should. For Nabiki episode part 3.
We'll somehow get an entire episode about Nabiki with 0 stories about her.
Look. I got a lot of Nabiki content I can bring you. We got reams of fanfic. We haven't even touched the Your Mileage Might Vary TV tropes page for Nabiki.
Oh, no. We're not going back to TV tropes. But listen.
We never left. We never left TV tropes. You brought up TV tropes earlier in this episode. A month ago.
I will own up to
a month ago, which you might not remember because I just re-listened to it before we recorded.
It does count. I will own up to that. But the important part is, again, I kind of had to stretch. This episode is about Nabiki, but she's not really in it. But it still ties into the idea of, like, the shape of a Ranma story. It's a good jump. Nabiki is a good jumping off point. I knew that there wasn't a lot of Nabiki-focused stories, but just using her as a starting point, we could kind of get this better understanding of, like, what makes a Ranma story a Ranma story. She is kind of the perfect encapsulation of that. Even in an episode that she's barely in, she's still kind of relevant to the discussion.
And she's always acting, and I think this is important, Ranma-ly. And what I mean by that is she's acting in the manner of someone who lives in and understands the Ranma world. So I think when we look at Nabiki, all right, we've looked at the story where she becomes Ranma's fiance. We've looked at her trapped and alone. I'm not trapped in here with you, Ranma. You're trapped in here with me. We've looked at Nabiki dominating a story that she's barely in. And we've talked about her before. You've talked a lot about the shape of a Ranma story. And, you know, you've talked about the how we've got the normal beginning, the interruption of daily life, the escalation, the wacky stacks that gradually make things weirder and more bizarre, culminating in a big wacky move, or sometimes a serious move, that causes us to swerve and return to the status quo, because things must always return to the status quo. But also, there's something you're missing out from your Ranma story. In this world, there's a thing that humans call fate. We don't know if it's real, but we know that no human being on Ranma Earth is free from whatever things that happen to them. They must be the silliest, most amusing things ever. And no matter what you plan, you can't escape that. And Nabiki, in this sense, is sort of a in tune with that, because she's always got preparations to be silly. She doesn't get hit by fate the way that other characters do, because she's not trying to live a serious life. She doesn't have ambitions. She's not trying to organize a big financial plot. Instead, she makes a ridiculous, silly financial plot that becomes a reveal, and it's funny. You know, even in the finale, when she's being tasked to invite people to the wedding and she's got one chapter to do it, she's like, well, I'm going to invite some people who definitely shouldn't be here just because ain't I a stinker, you know?
How else would the series end?
Exactly. It's the only way it could end, is with chaos and humor and things not going as planned. You know, I compared her to like a fox knight earlier. I might describe her as a sort of priestess or divine vessel, or maybe a sort of Gnostic mystic of this divine will of comedy, because she manages to act with it. She just enjoys the ride of being silly. She embraces the comedy and it flows through her. And I admit this is something that I thought of, but I'm in some way stealing it from you. You know, this idea that she loves Ranma, but in Ranma Earth, the truest love is not romantic love. Romantic love is fodder for comedy. Your romantic love cannot endure unless it is funny. Instead, she knows this, so she's happy to just torment Ranma and make him chase her and set up goofy gags. It's like if you imagine Bugs Bunny in love with both Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd.
Very easily.
That is her love language. Because the truest love in Ranma Earth is being together in comedy forever. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. Even if her favorite band ever, even if a band that she loves so much that she's willing to part with all of her money is playing in town, and she loses that, she'll still find happiness by just messing with Ranma. And I'm going to take your concept, and I'm going to stack my own concept onto this wacky stack, because yeah, she is a Looney Tune. She embraces it, but she understands that, you know, Ranma and Akane belong together. She's not going to interfere with that, but that doesn't mean she can't get her own fun. And that's when the whipped cream comes out.
All right. So Akane comes in, and then they start like a big whipped cream fight, and Ranma is like, oh, it's a fight now. All right, I can do martial arts whipped cream. And he starts like doing the you know, the really fast hand thing he does. And he starts throwing whipped cream everywhere, and they're laughing, and it's the end of the OAV.
It's a wholesome, happy episode. And then once it's all over, Nabiki decides that she doesn't need a further change. She doesn't need to interrupt the status quo. All she needs is to solve crimes as Panda Nabiki.
Ah, Panda Nabiki. That's right. Where is the Panda Nabiki dakimakura?
Fanfiction complete!